another edition of Ace Got Talk, our Philly show. Shout out to MediaNet TV, shout out to management, shout out to the producers, shout out to everyone behind the scenes making this dream a reality. Ace Got Talk. They say birds of a feather flock together. Well, I've often said that eagles don't fly in flocks. Let me slow it down. It's got talk. They say birds of a feather flock together. Well, I say eagles don't fly in flocks, and eagles fly at an altitude that is so high. The only other bird an eagle sees at the altitude that he flies at is another eagle. Well, today, never a truer word has been spoken. As you know, Ace Got Talk, I'm the winner of the World Motivational Speaker Competition 2019. I'm also a TV and radio presenter. Today, I'm in extremely good company. The young lady that's joining me on the show today, she also is an international motivational speaker. She flies around the world empowering women. And when she has in her spare time, she's also a radio presenter, and she presents a Monday night talk show where she covers a wide range of topics. My guest tonight, this morning, I'm truly honored to introduce you to Yvonne Michelle. Welcome to the It's Got Talk Affirmation show.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, sister. And yourself?
I'm wonderful. Thanks very much for having me on your show today. Really excited about being here today.
Me too. And in typical off the script Ace Got Talk style, we before the show even start, we changed the direction, because we will still touch on it. We was going to talk about empowerment and the principles of success, but just before we came on air, I was having a little reasoning with you, and you was informing me of the radio show you done last night and how much you opened up a can of worms with the topic, which was love languages.
Absolutely, yeah.
In particular, the fact that people are locked down right now, and it's a big difference between when you've got a partner and you go to work and they go to work, and you might brush shoulders in the passage, good morning, goodbye. But when you're locked down for 24 hours, 7 days a week with someone, you get to really know that person. So
absolutely,
this lockdown has done two things. Some people it's brought them closer, and some people it's split them apart. So tell me what happened on the show last night.
Well, first of all, the show, let me tell you about how the show started, because I do have a radio show on a Monday night, which is, we talk about all different topics, but this show is on a Tuesday. So I've got two shows now, so do two days a week. The show came out of frustration and a thought. So I had this thought, because we are in lockdown right now, and I just suddenly thought, what if this is the way that life is going to be from now on? What if this is the new normal? How am I, as a female, as a single female, going to cope? And I sat there and I was talking on the phone with my friend, and he was just like saying, why, this thing is not easy, And I was like saying, yes, I wonder how other people are coping. So I went on Facebook and had a little bit of a rant, and I was saying, guys, what if this is the new way? What if the only way that we can communicate is virtually? And for somebody who's single, that's not a good look. That's not a good thought. And so lots of people kept coming on and started talking about booty call and having friends with benefits and how it's messing up their run-ins and all kinds of stuff. So I decided to do a late night show. And then spoke to the guys on the radio station. They're like, yeah, we've got a space. So I brought it on the radio. So last night was week 4. And we started to touch on love languages and what that actually is, what it looks like, what it would be like for you as an individual if you started to look at your own love language, and then to your partner's love language. And for those who are single, it was about us thinking about what kind of person we want to be and what kind of love language we would like them to have. And these are things that we don't think about. These are things that we just kind of meet people and we just go with the flow. Do we feel a vibe? Is there a connection? Do we fancy them? Do they look good? Do they smell good? You know, do they have a job? Do they have a car? These are the things that we kind of think of first and foremost. But actually, as human beings, we have to look at the language that we are portraying, or the language that we want to receive, in order to find that perfect person. And then in the midst of that communication, so yesterday there was so many things that came out of the show, but one of the things that was highlighted is the fact that there are couples who have been together for a long time who don't spend a great deal of time. So you've got the work time, you've got your time at work, and then you've got your time, you might be going to the gym, you might have an outside class that you do for the week, it could be anything, or you might have children and they've got other activities, so you're away from your partner for a good period of time. So now that we're in lockdown and we are together 24/7, now we're beginning to see people like, this person is getting on my nerves. I don't want to be with this person. I actually don't like this person. But on the flip of that, you've got couples who are enjoying the time together because they didn't have it before, and they're making the most of it. And then there's also those who are of the younger age group who are still doing their stuff. They're still having their booty call. They're still having friends with benefits come and spend a couple of weeks together, and then they go and then they come back, even though we have these stringent rules that we're supposed to be isolated, not coming together with anyone. So this is the whole crux of the show. So we are looking for, let me just put this in, we are looking for more men who are serious, let me just say that, who are serious about finding a partner, finding love, finding their companion, to join our show and talk and be open, be frank. And if you see anyone on the show that you like, you know, with Zoom and these kind of apps that they've got little rooms that you can go in and you can have a private conversation and see how you get on and take things from there. So it's, you know, this has been a minefield. It's been absolutely incredible the last 4 weeks of doing this show.
Absolutely brilliant. So let's start to just unpack this a little bit. So when we talk about love language, what does that look like? Explain that.
Right, so there are 5 love languages. Well, there are 6, right? But there are 5 main languages, and the first one is words of affirmation. So that would mean that you are a person that likes to, your love language is to build others. You like to build them up. You like to inspire them, motivate them. You know, you're the type of person that, even though the person has a role in the home, let's take, for instance, in most case scenarios, in a home, the male is the person who takes out the rubbish, the bin, or will see to that in most case scenarios, right? I'm not saying it's all the time, but most case scenarios. So that person would be the person that says, oh, thanks, babe, for taking the bin up every time. They thank the person that they're with. They love on them in thank yous, affirmation. You know, you're great. You know, you make me feel so good. That is a love language. And some people, that's how their mind's programmed. So they will always be that thank you person. They will always be that person who wants to build the person that they're with. But on the flip side of that, if that is your love language, and your partner is talking in those ways to you, you are going to have such a great relationship, because your partner's actually feeding what you need in terms of making you feel loved, adored, honored, and all of those things that we like to feel in relationships. So that's the first one, words of affirmation. So for those of you who are listening, you guys need to get a pen and paper and you need to write this down, especially those who are in relationships. You know, it's time for you to start thinking about your partner.
May I interject, sister, before you give the others out? Just to add, this is so powerful what you're saying, and it's really important, because I have personally felt victim, and I'm sure that many of the viewers out there listening have felt victim for going through the normal tick lists. You know, does that person have the right job? You know, will my parents like her, etc.? And you go through all of those norms, will she make a good mother? But no, and you're right, people can be in relationships for years, but speak a different love language.
Yeah.
Or don't know the other person's love language. So the way they communicate in their love, the way they communicate love is not the way the person wants to receive love. So, and this is bad, because sometimes a relationship can go on for ages and people just ain't giving each other what they need because they're not speaking in the right language, which is this love language. So this is brilliant. I didn't mean to cut you there, but get a pen, write this down, because this is important. Affirmations, I like that. So that was number 1. We got another 5 to go through.
So what you're saying is so true, because when you think about how we are as human beings and how we've been programmed to be, right? So you got to remember where we're coming from and where we're going to. So where we're coming from, we're watching our parents, we're watching TV, there's outside sources and there's internal sources that we have, that we look at and we learn from. But what we don't understand, what we don't learn, is how to communicate. We just do it. So we're just talking. We're not thinking about how the person is going to receive. So this is so key. And let me just be frank and be honest. I was one for years, up until just now. Let me just say that love language, what's that? I like the man, I feel the vibe, it's all good, and we're getting on. But this is so key. This is why I think some relationships you will be with someone for 10 years, get married, and then divorce 2 years after. These are some of the reasons why these things happen, because we're not fully equipped with what we need. So let me go to number 2. And I think that a lot of ladies are going to like this one. Number 2 is gifts. Plain and simple, gifts. The gift that says he was thinking or she was thinking about me. There are some of us who like to receive gifts, but equally there are some, like one of the guys last night that was on this show. He's actually married. He's been married for 37 years, and so he gives us a lot of good, solid advice about relationships. And he was saying that he's a giver. So he likes to give all the time. Any chance he gets, he wants to give. So if he's walking and he sees something that reminds him of his wife, he'll buy it. He was talking about when he first met her, how every time they met, he would have a rose. And he was specific about the rose. He said it wasn't a real rose. It was an artificial silk. It was made out of pure silk. And then he said, and as the relationship started to develop, he found other ways of developing this rose. And one of the ways that he spoke about was the rose was actually, as he put it, it was a panty, right? So it was red. So I said, oh, so it was underwear. And he was like, yes, it was a silk lingerie knickers that was made into a rose. And he presented his wife with the rose, and they've been married for 37 years. And he says he still looks for ways to give her gifts in that way that's different. And so, but her love language is different. And this was really interesting. We'll come to her love language a bit later on, but his was to give. And so I know that lots of people like to receive gifts, but there are not so many who like to give, I suppose, nowadays. But that is the second language of love, is to give.
Can I interject there, sister? I'm just relating everything you're saying to my own personal relationship experiences. My ex-girlfriend, she was a giver, and she really liked to give all the time. And I'm not a very good receiver.
Okay.
And looking back, I can honestly say, because we're not together anymore, talking about the love language, we were speaking 2 different languages, and maybe I should have understood that. And because one of my good friends, he used to say to me all the time, Ace, you need to learn how to receive. You need to learn to, but because I'm a giver, like from my heart, like passionately, I don't like gifts. When people give me gifts, I don't like gifts. And one thing I learned was that sometimes you can be so mean to yourself that the universe is now mean to you. But just talking about the different languages, like my girl, she always used to like to buy me gifts, buy me things, you know, take me shopping, buy me nice clothes. And instead of embracing that and being like, yeah, this is me, I was always like, don't do that and don't do that. Even my birthday, I tell her before, buy me that. Because I'm just not, I don't look for it. So love language is important. And looking back, I think maybe, and can I just say one other thing about love languages? Once again, I'm not into Valentine's Day. I've never been into Valentine's Day. So all my life, every woman that I've ever been with, it's like, Valentine's Day, are you that thing that? Do you understand me? But understanding, maybe looking back, their love language, maybe that meant a lot to them. But, and I didn't realize that you're with her 4 or 5 years and not one Valentine's. Come in this, oh, hey, what? Every day of Valentine's Day, what up to you? But looking back, I look back how, do you know what? Sometimes it's not about your thing, it's about understanding the female and their love language. And that might have been sentimental to them, and that might have meant something to them. And the way I communicated my love was in different ways, but they're not picking that up. So do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Deep. It's deep.
It is deep. And if we were just to embrace it, our relationships, the way that we communicate with each other would be so much easier. Someone was saying last night that love doesn't have to be hard, because another person was saying like love is hard work. So I was like, it doesn't have to be hard. But if you learn the language, then it makes it easier. And like you say, there was somebody actually on there like you last night that was saying they don't like gifts, don't like it at all. And one of the things that I like to pose, the questions I like to pose is, how do you feel about gifting yourself something? So do you gift yourself things? Do you see yourself worthy to receive something from yourself first and then move on to your partner giving? Because a lot of the time it is about how we feel about ourselves that we project out to others. So don't give me I don't like, because I don't like to receive it, you know. But why do you give to yourself? And most times you find that the people who don't like to give are people who give. People who don't like to receive are people who give and don't give to others, but don't necessarily give to themselves.
100%, 100%. And just another point on the language of love. Like my ex, she used to love to surprise me. That was her thing. She liked surprising. And I used to, stop surprising me. I don't like surprises. Now, when I'm looking back, if that's her language of love and that's how she feels to communicate her affection to me, I should have embraced it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the time, I never perceived it as, wow, this is her way of showing me that she cares. She just wants to do something nice for me. Because I don't like surprises, I was like, don't surprise me. But it's, once again, it's only when certain things bash out, you look like, it's so weird. And it wasn't that you're incompatible. And this is the point that I want to put out there, because this is important for a lot of people that even right now, their relationship might be on the rocks. It's not a case of people are incompatible. It's a case of, it's about communication and understanding that we all communicate differently. It's not a one size fits all, and we all communicate the language of love differently. Sister, over to you. My thing.
Yes, man. So it is so true. One size does not fit all. And that brings me, when you said that, to a story. How do you learn that? You know, because some people think, well, you know, if it works, one of the things that we do in relationships is this. We have a relationship with one person, it doesn't work. We find a new relationship, but we still carry the same thing from the old relationship into the new relationship, the same behavior. One size does not fit all. So it's like going into a clothes shop, right? And your waist is a size 32. And the trousers you pick up is a size 30. It's not going to fit you. It's not going to be comfortable. You can squeeze up yourself in it and go around, because it can kind of fit. It's tight, but it puts you in pain. So it's real, and when you see pain, pain means pay attention inward now. So that means that you have to look inside yourself. Why am I in pain in this situation? Why is this not working? Is it the language? Is it the communication? And go back to basics to know that one size does not fit all. So you have to change something, and change normally comes only a slight 2 millimeter change. Change doesn't have to be anything great. It can just be something really small, like accepting your partner's way of loving you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that one. Pain. Pay attention inward now. That one's lovely. I love that. So, in regards to not carrying baggage from one relationship to another, how does one not carry that experience into the next relationship?
Well, you've got to see that person as an individual, and you have to go within and look at yourself and find out, what did you learn from that last relationship? Most of the time when we come out of relationships, it's all about what the person didn't do, how the person didn't treat you the way that you wanted to treat. It's always like outer, you're pointing outward. But when you look at those fingers and you're pointing the fingers, remember that you've got this one that's at you, and you've got these three that's also pointing at you. You have to take responsibility for your own behavior in that relationship. Once you do that and you forgive, key thing, the forgiveness, you've got to forgive yourself as well as the other person. Just because things don't work out doesn't mean to say that it has to be a horrible, it has to leave a horrible taste in your mouth. Even if it's pure arguments, you can still agree to disagree and say, you've got your point of view, I've got my point of view, and you know what, I'm going to forgive myself for not doing those things that she wanted or he wanted me to do. And I'm also going to forgive that person for projecting what they want and not accepting me for who I am. Once you do that, then you can start to move on to pastures new. But hear this, and I'm going to say this to the men, and the men, don't shoot me down. I'm going to say this to the men. When you are in a relationship with a woman, you get to know her, you get to know her body, you get to know her mind, you get to know how she speaks, you get to know her intimately. The intimacy that you have with her is going to be different from the intimacy you have with any other woman. So that means the things that make her feel good doesn't necessarily mean that the next woman you have is going to feel good. So you're going to be trying flapping about. And I mean, I know it's a morning show, but especially when it comes to sex, I'm going to say it. I know it's 11:30, but I'm gonna say it, especially when it comes to sex. The formula you have for your last girlfriend will not necessarily work for the new girlfriend. You get me? So so we're talking love languages today, guys.
Love languages. This is absolutely brilliant. Do you know what? I had a question for you, but I'm just meditating on the last thing you said, because that was so profound. About each woman is individually different, and it's important. I'm going to paraphrase what you said, but it's important for men to realize that the intimacy you have with one woman and one woman's body is completely different, woman to woman. And you can't go into a relationship looking at all women the same, because they're not. And this is, once again, when we're breaking down and unpacking the language of love, this is when you start to get into the detail. And like I said, Ace got talk. I'm an open book. I wear my heart on my sleeve, literally wear my heart on my sleeve.
Right.
And I use myself as an example, because it's all about growth. And you can only grow through learning through your experiences. There's no, and one thing you mentioned about taking responsibility. I mean, twice in this conversation, I used two minor examples, not the biggest things in the world, but I used two minor examples when I gave you the example of, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, never celebrate Valentine's Day. But I look back in reflection and say, could I have not been so stuck in my ways and adjusted for that balance? And this is where you get growth, is always taking responsibility and saying, okay, even though that broke down, what could I have done better? Because some people, they will leave a relationship. I'm just speaking openly, broadly now, and they will always blame the other person. It was their person. It was what they did wrong. You look for fault in the other person. You think the relationship mash up, it was their fault because they never did this and they never did that and they never did that, and you carry that into the next relationship because you didn't learn that, so you'll make the same mistakes again. But if you could look at, all right, cool, it popped down, but what could I have done better? You know, I could have done that better, and you know, I could have done that, and you carry that in the improved new incarnation of yourself into the next relationship. Think life can only get sweeter. So that's my mantra, and that's where I'm at with it.
Good. This is good talk. This is real talk.
Real talk.
Sorry, it is absolutely, you know, relationships, the world goes round by relationships. We it's not good for man to be alone. Mankind, female, male, it's not good for us to be alone. So the better we can communicate together, the better we're going to get on, the further we're going to grow, and the further we're going to prosper, not only as male and female, but as a people, if we learn to communicate well. And this is, you know, it's not just about love, it's communication is massive. It's so important, you know, and what you're doing here, communicating with the world, this is great. This is what we need. We need to be talking, we need to be reasoning one to another and learning so that we can move on and grow and thrive, you know. So should I go to the next one?
Do you can, but can I just touch on one little point there that another thing you mentioned about projection? Just a quick one on projection. I think, and you covered it, and I love the fact that you mentioned it. It's all about being your authentic self. Absolutely. And finding somebody that is accepting of you for who you are in all of your authenticity. And when we're talking about the love language, unfortunately, I have met some people that they're so desperate for love, they will project themselves onto somebody else and be what that person wants them to be, or the expectation. Am I making myself? Never project yourself onto somebody. Never, you know, I'm going to be this way to please you because this is what you want, because it's going to make you happy, you know, because you want to be in a relationship with that person. So you're projected. Be yourself. The best relationships are those that are organic. I'm content with myself, a happy, content being. You're a happy, content being. And when we come together, we are just two happy, content beings enjoying each other's company. You know, I should never, I'm a man like this. I don't want any woman to make me happy. And I shouldn't be the sole source of your happiness.
That's right.
We all need to find that place of contentment within ourselves. You know, and that's another thing about relationship. I don't like, and I'll give you two quick more examples. You know, there's some, I'll start with, it's not man and woman thing, I'll give you both. Two examples. Women who always, I need a man, I need a man, I need a man. There are some women out there that as the one relationship finish, they need to be in another. So insecure, you're not secure with yourself. You need someone to balance security. Another example for the male to add balance. I know a lot of my friends, or some of them, they just live under woman. They're always living with a woman. And as that they left that woman, they find another woman to live with. And as they left that woman, they find another woman. And I said, blood, you don't want your own house. You don't want to be the man. You don't want to be the man of your own house. You don't want to be the man of your own house. Come on. That key in your door. You know what I mean? And not be. But if you wanted to have a different friend, just come to me like, you can do what you want. Like each up. And I can't. And I said, nah. So it's that. I'll just give you two examples of insecurities. It's about being insecure with yourself and not needing anyone else to find that security. Making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes perfect sense. You know, nobody is responsible for your happiness apart from you. Brilliant. You are responsible for your own happiness. Nobody can make you happy. Brilliant. If you cannot make yourself happy, how is anybody else going to make you happy? You know, and that the thought of the person, because I've seen this so many times, I've got to be this way. And women, you know, as we, especially if I focus on the women, as we grow, we have this, I don't know where it comes from, but we have this perception that we have to make the person happy. That's how we've been raised, kind of. Not so much the younger ones now, but kind of like my age group going down that way. You know, we have to do this to please the man. We've got to do this thing. You got to make sure you can wash, cook, iron, do all of these things to keep the man happy. But what about your own happiness? There is nothing worse than living with a miserable woman. And I'm a woman, and I can tell you that. There's nothing worse than living with a miserable woman. And on top of that, there's nothing worse than living with a miserable man. Do you see what I'm saying? A person who is miserable in their own self. So it's best that we be ourselves. The
Brilliant.
best relationship I ever had was one where I actually I wasn't attracted to the guy at all. And so I was just like, I'm not even going to bother to try. I'm just going to be me. And this is how I discovered me. This is how I truly discovered me. And I didn't try. And we had the best relationship. We are still really good friends to this day. But for me, that is the best relationship that I have had to date. And it was because I was authentically myself. Absolutely 100%, put on no airs and graces for this person at all, and it worked a dream, to the point where we are brethrens, like we are tight, like friends. No romance at all, but our friendship is solid, and it has been for many, 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 many years. So what you're saying is so key. It is so, so true. So guys that are listening, you know, you have to start thinking about, ask yourself the question, am I being true to myself? Am I being honest to myself? And do I actually like myself? And if you answer questions yes, then you move on. But if you answer any of those answers of no, then that means that you need to work on you, not look at your partner or the person outside of you. It means that you have to turn inward and work on you. Self-development is the best thing that anybody can do, especially now in this time, this day and age. Personal development, get yourself strong and be authentically you.
Let me ask you a question straight, right? Because, like I said, it's got talk here. I'm an open book. You know, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm gonna draw reference from my life. So I'm gonna ask you a question as a woman, because maybe you can help me out with this one, right? Because you said something very interesting. You said that, and I get it, and I'm with you on that. You said that, us women, you know, we got this perception that, you know, we need to make the man happy. We need to make the man happy. And, you know, what about making ourselves happy? And I'm with you on that one, 100%. That it's all about making yourselves happy and being happy and content with yourself. But I've experienced, once again, in the past, it's either yin or yang with the females. It's like they're either really into you, or when they go on a journey of self-discovery, you know, those famous last words. You know, when you hear those famous last words as a man, when they say, I just need some space. I just need some space. I need some time alone. And if we hold on a minute, my question is, why can't you guys do both? Why can't you do the self-discovery and find happiness in yourself and still, you know what I mean? Why does it, I don't think I can make you happy? You know, once that space thing starts coming in, what's going on there?
Because that's not being honest. I don't think that's being honest. It's like that saying, it's not you, it's me. Do you know what I mean? It's not you, it's me. It's that saying. Come on.
That's the killer one. That's the killer one. It's not you, it's me. That's another one. What does that mean? We're talking love language today. So what does that mean? I want to know. It's not you, it's me. What does that mean?
It means that they're not really, for me, they're not really being honest to say, look, actually, if they back up and say it's not you, it's me because this, then that's different. But if they're just saying it's not you, it's me, and they're walking away, then there's something more. You know, old time people say water more than flour. So there's something more in it, right? there's something more into that conversation. There's more underlined issues there. But I think that to answer your question, I think that women can develop themselves. What they're saying is there is some things about you that I can't work with. I can't deal with right now. And it's better that you say, well, sometimes it's better you say, I can't deal with you right now because of and be honest about it. But some, depending on where the man is in his development, he will either accept what she says, and this is what we have to learn to do, especially when we're communicating, is accept what the person's saying and not try to argue the point to get your point across, because that person's view is valid too. Right? So you accept what they're saying. So, okay, I'm going to ponder on what you've said. I'm going to go away. I'm going to think about what you've said, and I'm going to work on me while you're working on you. So if you was to say that in a conversation, wouldn't it last? Wouldn't the relationship last long? But what happens is, it's not you, it's me. Red hair. What do you mean it's not you, it's me? And then we get this thing where we're going at each other, hammer and tongs, and then we're like, "Chat, I can't do it no more. It's over." When it didn't need to be over. Just need to give space and thought and communicate well.
Absolutely brilliant. You know what? You should actually become some relationship counselor. You know what I
mean? But you know what? I feel, I'm going to be honest. You know, on the show, because relationships is not my bag. I feel like because I'm single, I don't really have the chat. You know, I don't have the experience of relationships. But as we're talking, actually, I seem to have a lot of knowledge, more knowledge than what I thought. So yeah, I think it's something to look into. You know, I really do.
Definitely, and we're gonna. I can already see, because I've got a lot of plans for you anyway. You don't know something I've planned for you already, but I can see this brewing into a little weekly setup, a little weekly round that we're gonna do. Because this is a big conversation. We're gonna keep this flowing. So we're gonna touch on this relationship thing because it's funny enough. I didn't want to make reference to it before, but I interviewed Mervyn, who's a peak performance coach, on my show earlier this week. So shout out to Mervyn. You can see that on MediaNet Live TV. He's got Talk Peak Performance Coach. And when we touched on the relationship stuff, there's stuff he said on the show. You said exactly the same thing in regards to when a relationship ends, not carrying that baggage into the new relationship, you know? And we're going to touch on things again from that point of view, that psychological point of view. But where you're coming from is a completely different angle. And I just want to touch on the point that you said about, oh, I'm single, so I don't really think I'm qualified. Well, let me throw something else into this, just into the equation. I think that single people can be the most qualified people to talk about relationships, and I'll tell you why. Let's just take Jane, for instance, who got married at 20 years old and has been married for 30, 40 years. She's only had one relationship.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. Yeah. Noted. Yeah.
If someone's dated and made mistakes, we all learn from our mistakes. So sometimes the more mistakes we've made is the more experience we gain. And with that experience, we can start to have a nice long all the do's and don'ts list. You know what I mean? I think between me and you, we could probably write a relationship, all the do nots. You know what I mean? Right? 50 do nots, right? Right. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't underestimate yourself. And some of the knowledge that you've popped off in this show is powerful. Time is running away with us. So I'm so excited. We've got another 4 more. We're on number 2. Number 1, for just to remind the viewers, number 1 love languages is affirmations. Yeah.
Words of affirmation. Yeah.
Number 2 is gifts. And number 3
is acts of service. Woo! So acts of service is doing something for your spouse that you know that they would like. Wow. So for me, a love language, if that's your love language, acts of service as a male, cook a nice meal. That would make me so happy. that for me would be like, oh babes, I love that, because as much as I'm a great cook, I'm an absolutely phenomenal cook, the kitchen and I don't have a great relationship because of the work that I do. So I'm out, I'm busy, I'm working, and so sometimes food is the last thing on my mind, and then my belly starts. So if I was to come home and dinner's on the table waiting, or the bath has been run, for me that's beautiful. So it's not actually, you're not actually going out to buy anything for me, you're just doing something. So acts of service is a very powerful language of love, and many do. So it's like, here's like washing the dishes, well that should be done anyway, vacuuming the floors and stuff like that. But if you know that your part, especially if your partner doesn't do that, right, and they turn around and they do that, guys, don't turn around and say, what have you done? Why have you done this? What's wrong? Are you up to something? Are you feeling guilty about something? Just accept that is the language. They want to do something nice for you. It's an act of service. And there are people who give are like that as well. Let me just, they come in and they see the house is a bit messy. Oh, let me just tidy up. Let me just do this. And so when you're coming in now and you see that, it's like you've done something that's helping me or that person. You're helping them. It's an act of service. And that is a really powerful love language. That one is number 3. Is Ace, yeah?
Go on, say it. Ace,
no, I was gonna say, have you got anything that you wanna is there a question or anything you wanna add to that?
Brilliant, Q. Do you know what? I was just sitting here looking at you and thinking something I've never done. This is unprecedented on one of my live TV link-ups, but we've been going for 45 minutes and we've got another 3 acts to get through. I was thinking, you know what? We put out so much powerful knowledge that we just cut it there, and if I come back for the part 2, you get me? If I come back for the part 2, you see?
Yeah, that's the way you could. I'm happy to come back again.
I don't want to rush through. I don't want to rush through the next 3 and try and cram it into 50 minutes. I want to continue the elaboration and the dialogue. So what we'll do is I'll touch on acts of service, and then we'll summarize this one. And if you're happy, right, we'll leave them in suspense, and we'll come back and we hit them with a part 2, love language. So acts of service. Once again, reflecting on previous relationships. I've had a few. It goes back to the beginning stages. I think when you're courting somebody in the early stages and, it's all fresh and it's new, you put in that extra effort. You go that extra mile. You do them little things. In the beginning stage, baby, you want a massage? You get me? Anything to take off the clothes, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you turn some pro, you get some bad boy massage, you understand? You all get the almond oil out, you understand? Baby, you want me to rub your foot? I rub down the foot, That's the beginning, right? You go that extra mile. And then, like anything, anything, we're just human beings. It's in our nature that anything we have around us after a while just becomes normality and we just get complacent. And I think that's where a lot of relationships break down, because you take each other for granted without meaning to. It's like, we're together, we're good, you're not going nowhere. So I'm not going to make that effort today. Shall we make that effort next week? Babes, can I get a massage? You give me a massage. Start now.
Yeah, that's how it gets. Yeah.
Babes, my back's hurting me too. You know what I mean? Right. So we because it's real talk. It's real talk. That shift, and it's that complacency. So I think my message to anybody out there who's in a relationship at the moment is, don't forget to keep doing those little things, like you said, those acts of service, whether it be that that person loves that nice meal, or it could just be having a bath run for them when they come on with a hot bath run. When they come for the babe, take off your shoes, I've got the bath run, I'll put the kettle on, do a cup of tea. Just those little showing you're appreciated and not forgetting, because we all do it, especially when you got a ride or die. A girl who's gonna, she's there, she's down, and she got through enough things with you, and you even get more complacent and you forget And and remember what I would say to the men out there. I'm gonna just throw this one out there for the man them, because this one's powerful. You see, when a woman leaves a man, she's usually left up here a long time ago.
True.
Right? And you see, when she actually does the walking out, that was just the physical part. But up here was gone already. And a lot of us men, we don't recognize the signs till it's too late. It's too late. We're so busy being complacent, just doing our managed stuff that we don't recognize. Do you get me? And they all this time they're just walking out the door in their minds.
Yeah.
So you know, don't be complacent. Acts of service.
Listen, when you was just talking about how a woman will leave in her mind first, what came to me was, you know, we don't have open fires, right, anymore. Most people live with normal central heating. But I want you guys to imagine that you have an open fire, and that is the only way that you can heat your home. You keep the things moving, keep things ticking in your home. If you allow that fire to go out, everything done. Nothing can work. You're going to freeze. So it's our responsibility to use these love languages to keep the fire burning. If you add little fuel to the fire, the fire builds up and it keeps you warm. We want to feel the warmth of the relationship. We want to feel the warmth of love. We want to feel the warmth of the compassion that you get from your partner. We want to feel all of those wonderful feelings, so the endorphins start running through our body. We want to feel so good. But in order for us to feel good, we got to do something. There's got to be an action, and that action is putting fuel in the fire. You've got to stoke the fire. You've got to poke the fire, literally. I mean, you can take that any which way you want to take it.
I'll take it. I'll take that.
You get me? But there's something that you have to do, and each party, each one in the relationship has a responsibility to do their part. It's so important. So if you leave a fire, the fire will burn out by itself. It will burn out. But if you keep poking it, you keep adding logs, you keep putting fuel in, you keep doing your part, that fire is just going to keep going. It's going to keep you warm. It's going to make you feel good, because we like to feel those warm, loving emotions. We love to feel that way. So for me, I'm just saying to guys, with the acts of service being the last one as we're going to, bring it all together, we have to we have to start looking at life differently. We've got to start looking at our partners differently, and we have to start looking at the potential partner differently, and ourselves, and start asking the question, what do I want? Who am I? First question, who am I? And what do I really want? And then write that down. And guys, if you're at home, if you're listening, write that down. Who am I, and what do I really want? And really sit with those questions, because as much as they're easy questions to ask, they're not easy questions to answer, especially when you're going into or looking for a relationship. But fundamentally, if you know who you are and what you really want, then whatever's coming to you, you're going to start to attract that, because you're actually, when you write it down and you start reading it out, what you're doing, you're putting it out in the atmosphere. The universe is hearing, and the universe will bring that person with the love language that you want to you. So it's up to us, like I say, to fuel the fire, do all of those things, but fundamentally know who we are and what we really, really want. Brilliant. And go from there.
Absolutely amazing, sister. I'm just mesmerized by you. If I'm thinking how far. Okay, I went back a year, then I went back 2 years, then I went back 20 years. I said, wow, if I did that 20 years ago, my life would have turned out different, But but it's never too late. And for those that are out there that are struggling and want to maybe get in touch with you, and I know you do. We didn't touch on it today, but we will on the next show. You do a lot of female empowerment, and I know you fly around the world inspiring women. So put your details out there, Telegram, where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on. I'm on all social media. So Yvonne Michelle. Michelle has one L, even though there's a hyphen over the E. Forget the hyphen. It's Yvonne Michelle. My website is my website is www.yvonnemichelle.com. Instagram is Yvonne Michelle. Facebook is Yvonne Michelle. Snapchat is Yvonne Michelle. I've got my YouTube channel is Yvonne Michelle. It's Yvonne Michelle TV. That's my YouTube channel. So hit me up. Come and find me. Let's talk and let's see how we can help each other. I'm here to help. I am a female empowerment coach, but I do help men as well. And this relationship thing is a new thing. So I'm happy to help anybody who's struggling in their relationship now, or struggling with their self-esteem, their self-worth, because we are going through this time. This is a very unprecedented time. None of us have been through this lockdown situation before, and many people are struggling, whether they're in relationships or not. And so if you are struggling, I do run female empowerment workshops on Zoom in the week. Come and find me, come and join me. Let's work and let's build each other up. It's my responsibility to help you, and it's your responsibility to help me. And together, then we can help the world around us.
Brilliant.
That's how I see it.
Brilliant. Yvonne, you're an absolute blessing and an asset to the community, and I really thank you for your time today. Should we confirm? Should we do a part 2 tomorrow morning? Tell everyone join us same time tomorrow, 11 a.m. Are you available?
Yeah. 11 tomorrow.
So
Thursday. I could do Thursday.
We'll do tomorrow morning 11 a.m. and that'll be Love Languages Part 2, and you're going to share the secrets, the last three languages. So I really, really look forward to that. And do you know what makes me laugh? Ace Got Talk. I just turned you into a relationship guru. That's another feather to your cap. A female empowerer, international motivational speaker, TV presenter, radio presenter, and now Ace Got Talk. I'll put that feather in your cap, sister. You see a natural gift in somebody. You might not see it in yourself, but I see it naturally. You are a relationship counselor. You should call yourself the love doctor. You know what I mean?
Well, if you're gonna give me that name, I'll go with it.
Own it. That was a brilliant show today. Thank you so much, sister.
Thank you.
God bless you. I look forward to seeing London Town. Ace Got Talk to the world. MediaNet TV, do the maths. That was an amazing show, amazing conversation with Yvonne Michelle, Ace Got Talk. Join us tomorrow for part 2, MediaNet TV. Until then, stay blessed. Salut.
Blessings.